Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. It's time now to review headlines on today's newspapers with the Ombudsman of This Day and Arise Media Group and This Day Newspapers Limited Group Executive Director, Kayode Komolafe. Good morning, Mr. Komolafe.
Good morning.
How are you?
Yeah. Good morning,
Good morning, Steve. Yeah.
Great.
Good morning.
Yeah. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. So we start, as always, with This Day on Sunday, where the lead story says, Buhari allays concerns over shortage of Naira notes, says CBN working to eliminate chaos, reiterates policy targeted at holders of illicit funds, not businesses, common man, declares it will stop counterfeits, corruption, funding of terrorism, no going back on January 31st deadline, CBN insists. MBA, article seek policy review, deadline extension. On top of that lead story is my relationship with Buhari not strained, Tinubu clarifies. Meet president after controversial comments on Naira redesign, petrol scarcity. That story will be found on page 5 of today's This Day. And on top of the masthead, give me chance to create new Nigeria, Obi tells supporters in Borno. That's on page 6 of the paper. And last but not the least is a story on the window of today's This Day. Again, INEC extends PVC collection deadline by 1 week. List 436 polling units for mock accreditation. Collect your PVCs and vote for Atiku, PDP tells Nigerians. And the cover picture is about Pastor Paul Adefarasin's 60th birthday recently in Lagos State, in Lagos. That's him with former Attorney General of Lagos State, Shukosha and his wife, and the publisher of The Guardian, Mrs. Medin Ibru, and I think Ms. Aisha Rimi, who is a partner, Africa Law Practice. Happy birthday to Pastor Paul, as they call him. All right. You like to?
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the stories,
KK.
KK.
So, thank you, Steve.
Right.
I think it would be in order to join you in saying happy birthday to Pastor Paul.
Yes.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, the front page of This Day, you know, if you go ahead, it shares a lot in common with the front pages of other newspapers. That's understandable because of the issues of the moment, you know. Talking of the build up to the election, the scarcity of cash, and also the fuel scarcity. I mean, those are the things that
Absolutely.
So understandable.
Those are the issues of the moment.
So that constitutes the news for most of the newspapers that we are reviewing this morning. Now, let's start on a positive note, and that is the decision of INEC to be elastic, you know, in extending the deadline for collection of PVC. You know. I think that is quite in order, you know, because the beauty of the whole process is, you know, is to make it as inclusive as possible, you know, and as participatory as it could be. So, any step that is taken, you know, to get more people, you know, to be empowered with their PVC to vote, I think it is in the interest of the democratic process. So
that's right.
I think even if it will mean bending backward, if it will mean, you know, doing some waivers, you know, INEC is quite encouraging. You know, that is one side of it. The flip side of it now is that prospective voters should now take the advantage, you know, of the window which INEC has opened again. That is the extension to ensure that, you know, to get their PVC, because INEC might not be willing to have, you know, further extension. Because indeed, I mean, in discussing the matter, often people are not sympathetic with INEC. That, you know, that this is a technical process, you know, that I mean, you can, I mean, INEC cannot wait, you know, until, I mean, or rather cannot permit a process whereby you wait until the day of the election before you you collect your PVC, you know, for their own workings. So that should be the public should also cooperate with INEC by making sure that they work within the schedule of INEC, you know, and ensure that the PVCs collected. Yes. Now, the other story, has to do with the crisis, cash crisis, and that is a reality, and both the central bank as well as the government, President Buhari is, while giving the assurance, should work so that this week, that it will not be a week, of crisis in Nigeria. While this is going on, the president is supposed to, is scheduled to be in Kano. I understand that visit is cancelled, because, security reports say that, people could express anger, A similar anger was expressed in Katsina, So it is important not to underrate the crisis, that could be provoked in the land, if the process is not well managed. So we can only express hope that in this week, that the central bank will ensure that cash is available, that people could go to the ATM and make withdraw, as we have just a few days to the expiration of the deadline that is given, which is January 31st. So already some concrete steps have been taken. Banks are working even today, Sunday, yesterday, Saturday, bank worked. So we need to be more proactive, in taking steps, that will prevent a crisis. It should be possible, to have that policy implemented without, degenerating into a national crisis.
Yeah, he did say, the president, that, he's not going to ignore the poorest of the poor and that there are initiatives that would help, the poorest of them. But I wanted you to touch on that statement by Governor of Kano State, Ganduje, who actually in a memo told the president not to come to Kano State. The president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and he's saying that, in order not to cause more chaos, the president should not come to Kano State. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yes, my thought is that we should not be pretentious. There is crisis in there is crisis. Yes, we should not be pretentious. Yes, there is crisis in the land. People have their money and they don't have access to it. So, people are angry, So, and of course, if you,
those who want cash. Those who want cash.
No, those who want cash, yes.
Yeah.
If we,
is it just those who want cash?
Is it only those who want cash?
You think so?
Who else do not have access to their money? I'm just asking.
The point is this, Again, I'm saying that we should not be pretentious, Now, when you say we have a cashless policy, it doesn't mean that we will not. People will not have access to cash at all. Otherwise, why printing the money?
Yeah.
Cashless policy does not mean that there will be no currency, for transaction.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that even within the rule, within the limit that is set, the truth of it now is that it is not available.
Yeah.
So if somebody even wants 1,000 naira cash, 500 naira cash, is entitled to it, because the currency is still the legal tender. And within the rule, you can still transact business with, except we are saying that cashless policy means that, there is no cash anymore that you do.
No.
The digital. To pretend, as if there is no crisis, it is wrong.
Yeah.
It is wrong, and I think that is what perhaps must have informed,
Ganduje's position. Which is correct. It's just
that there is anger in the land, against, government, against central bank, in doing so.
Yeah.
And people, you have people queue at queue on the for cash withdrawal, at ATM points, and for hours, and they're not finding it. So, this cannot be justified.
What's your position on the extension? Do you think that it should be extended, that January 31st deadline?
What is sacrosanct about January 31st? If you put a policy in place and it is not working, it is only reasonable that you adjust and extend it. That is the thing. The laws are made for man. This policy is meant for it's meant for public good. And if the public are saying that there is pain in the process of doing it, what is wrong in extending it?
For me, that's the area where I think that we should be careful.
Yeah. What is your position?
Yes, and more also, there are, I mean, apart from the public you are serving, stakeholders, even people in the private sector, just now MBA, and people are saying, no, this thing is not working as you are having it. That the assumptions that you are making, is not correct. So there is nothing wrong. It is only rational. It is only rational that if you are implementing a policy and there are hiccups, then you make a review. It's justified.
For me, the review does not necessarily mean that it should be extended.
Okay.
I don't see what review cannot be addressed in a matter of days as CBN proceeds. I don't want CBN to cave in to outside of the genuine challenges that people are experiencing, particularly artisans and those who need little small cash on a daily basis. Outside of that, I do not think that CBN should cow in to orchestrated noise from certain vested interests who desire an extension just because the elections are around the corner.
Even with the security threat?
What security threat?
The governor of Kano State has asked Buhari not to come to Kano State.
No, what is orchestrated in the situation of a person who is on ATM queue now?
I have acknowledged those people.
And it's not having his cash. What is orchestrated in that?
I have acknowledged.
We are mystifying these things. What I'm saying is that the government and the CBN, we are getting it wrong. When a purely technical process, which is changing of the currency for the reason that we give you, when you now politicize it, election will take place only 2 days in the next 2 months, on February 25 and March 11, and it will be over. But we are talking of the consequences, the pain. So why must you rationalize the pains of people and say it's orchestrated
in a day or two?
Okay.
Just by making cash available.
Which is the point I made earlier. Which one I made earlier? That the challenge
function yesterday, and I've always made this case that CBN on the one hand and commercial banks are culpable. And it didn't start from this new note. Hardly will you, with the old note, hardly will you find 200 Naira notes. But you will find them at parties. And I was at a function, a party yesterday, where the new notes were in abundance.
Well, there's the reports out there.
There's also the
racketeering out there about the banks selling the money.
So the people should suffer for that.
I'm not saying so.
Because you think it's orchestrated
so.
and the CBN should not cave in. So why must people suffer, for what
I'm saying that
what you have demonstrated now, it's not the fault of the people.
In 1 or 2 days, it does not require an extension, because if CBN says that extension,
we're talking about what, tomorrow? Is it the day after tomorrow, the 31st? Tuesday.
Is it Tuesday?
Do you know that in Victoria Island alone, yesterday only 3 ATMs were working, the whole island? 3.
I understand all this, and I'm saying that because again, it affects those who need small cash on a daily basis. People want to enter bus, people want to go to market, etc. They form a small fulcrum in terms of the amount of cash that is required, in terms of the amount of transactions.
That is wrong now. Those who spend, they're in the majority, Steve.
I'm saying
this is your digital process.
I'm saying the volume.
This is your digital process you're talking about. Most of the people, most economic actors in Nigeria are outside it. That is the truth.
Who are the economic actors that are outside of digital?
I mean, an economic actor is somebody who needs to spend money, engage in transaction. People who engage in transaction in Nigeria today, I mean, I describe them as the economic actors. That is, if you are in the process of buying or selling or paying or making payments.
And such people do not have banks, and such people do not use cards.
Is that all?
Such people do not use ATM, they don't have cards.
So when you go to the local market, you use cards.
My point is that, is it the extension that will solve the problem? Because if we are just if we are just saying extend, I'm saying watch out for the vested interest in the agitation for extension.
So what would happen
if the idea, Oji, is to make sure that the masses do not suffer? I'm saying that CBN has the capacity to intervene through the banks and make cash available. But don't also rule out the fact that ultimately the point is about the cashless society. And we can't, continually hide under the fact that people will be, will always need cash and everything. They will need cash, but it's a cashless society where the volume of transactions that is going on a daily basis, it is a lot more than those who are withdrawing 10,000, 20,000.
No, I do not agree with you on that, because I know that those artisans and those people are in the majority. There are more poor people in Nigeria that need
but the volume that they deal with, the volume that they deal with,
it's not the volume, it's the access. It's not the volume, because you are missing the point is not about volume, it's about access.
You are missing the goal of the CBN. It is a cashless society. It is not to replicate what was before.
Can I remind you?
If you allow me to land, KK.
Okay.
It is to ensure that what took us to this point, where 85% of the amount of the cash that CBN printed ended up in the vaults of people who are just keeping them.
So that is Mr. Komolave's question.
Yes.
Who should pay for that?
Nobody should pay for it, which is why I said that CBN can deal with it, and they are dealing with it.
Within 2 days, there will be long queues. There will be a lot of people. There will be chaos. There will be
people are already paying for it.
So you think what will not create chaos is to extend it so that we can have this election with people.
No, nobody is asking for the extension of June 31st or anything.
You are missing the point about the fact that people are desperate to buy elections. And part of those who might be desperate to buy votes. Very commendable. Such money can even come from those who are kidnappers, those who are engaging, in illicit affairs.
Okay, let's see what will happen in the coming days. Just
and some of them, by the way, might be orchestrated. So let us just be mindful.
I agree with you.
Some of them might be orchestrated.
I agree with
just
you
to prove the point that CBN has failed. I don't think they have.
I agree with you on that as well, Steve. All right, let's move over to This Day Style, if we can pull that up.
Very quickly,
Yes. The cover story. Arise Fashion Week returns again. Absolutely. Going on the 2nd to the 4th of February, we have 5 designers. Most of them are very well-known designers. We have Folake Koka, who's the designer for Tiffany Amber, correct? We also have Lanre Da Silva, Lisa Folawiyo, Itwen Basi, and Nkwo. These 5 designers will showcase their designs.
Those are popular names.
They are popular names. But also what is good about this Fashion Week is that there are a lot of new faces, a lot of new designers as well that are going to be showcasing as well. I mean, it is future forward, and we look forward to seeing that, seeing more of those. I don't know if I can pull up the schedule here. We have a bunch of them.
It's fashion and jazz, isn't it?
Yes, fashion and jazz.
Jazz on the wrong way.
Jazz on the wrong way. As usual, we always have this. I mean, this is the 20th edition. I believe I was looking at their Instagram and I was like, wow, we have come this far. We had, Chris Brown.
Not many people
we had R. Kelly.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember all of these artists, performing on stage. I mean, the This Day brand, we could credit them as the pioneer, bringing these international acts to Nigeria for entertainment. Can't wait.
It's a good one.
That is a fact of history.
Yes.
Can't wait. Can we take the punch very quickly? KK? Because the lead is slightly different from the... Yes. And the lead here says Osun Tribunal. Pro-Adeleke protest in Osun. Oyetola's loyalists stage carnival. Governor Hale's supporters insist judgment won't stand. Iragbiji Agog as APC loyalists celebrate. A few other interesting story outside of the new Naira. The new Naira is also there. New Naira, CBN insists on January 31st. Buhari snubs governors, monarchs. I agree. KK does not. INEC plans high-level meeting with NNPC over fuel scarcity. Commission bows to pressure, extends PVC collection date. And police get 64 billion for elections, deploy APCs, others. Any other interesting ones? CCTV cameras at Edo train station not working. That's NRC
That's unfortunate.
MD, unfortunately. And then it's frustrating DSS denying knowledge of 19-year-old arrested since July. That's according to the sister of the 19-year-old arrested person. I think those are the key stories. Any other one? 5,000 Tokumbo vehicles abandoned at Lagos terminals. That's according to agents. Let's hope that the Lekki Deep seaport, will change the game, the nature of the game forever. Then bank, NHF, others frustrate workers' home dream as housing crisis worsens. Those are the parties. And for a lesson from, some octogenarians, keeping third parties out, secret of a 60-year-old marriage. Keep third parties out. And then you can celebrate 60.
I love that.
That's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And for some of us who have only done 21 years, they are very correct. Keeping third parties out.
And keep working on it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So those are the stories.
Yeah. The Osun Tribunal, I think, all that should be said is that things should be done peacefully. Both sides, both those who hold in protests and those who hold in carnivals, whichever way. Because it is still a long. It promises to be a long judicial process. Because the matter may still end up at the Supreme Court.
At the Supreme Court, whichever way it goes at the appeal. It goes
at the appeal. So it is important, to both sides, to be calm, whether they are staging protests or they are holding carnival, and to trust the judicial process, that because it is now, it is only when the Supreme Court makes a pronouncement that will the final.
Just like the last time, 4 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah. The other story I think we should take quickly there is a very important story, and that is this case of a 19-year-old arrested by SSS, and the SSS not denying that they were not aware that the guy has been in their custody. This is important because when you talk of the dividends of democracy, the real dividend of democracy is human freedom. That is one thing that distinguishes this order, the civil order, the democratic order, from dictatorship. And it's not a thing that should be taught. Every citizen, by Nigerian constitution, is entitled, to freedom, that you cannot be unjustly incarcerated. So if your freedom has to be, be curtailed, it has to be according to the law, not by anybody. I think it is a matter that that should be, taken up, and justice, should be served, for the guy. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I guess are we?
Sunday Tribune.
Oh, right. I guess we'll just take a quick break before we come back on Sunday Tribune. Oh, right. The producers are saying that we can take another paper. We can take the Sunday Tribune. The lead story there, 72 hours to CBN deadline. Banks ration new Naira notes. The riders there. Long queues as Nigerians flood ATM points in major cities. Buhari explains policy aims at curbing illicit Naira hoarding. ACF Atiku call for extension of deadline to assist the poor. Churches discourage members from paying old notes as offerings and tithes. I mean, it is true, Steve. This seems awkward, but it is true. This is what's happening. And there, the picture story there. Customers waiting to withdraw from the automated teller machines in Ibadan, Oyo State, on Saturday. This is, look at the long queue. But then there's another story there. Buhari may visit Kano tomorrow in spite of Ganduje's warning. Kano governor had cited that, residents who took the stories, hardship, anger as a reason for the postponement in his letter to the president. Despite sabotage, I will win, Tinubu tells party followers in Zamfara. It's my turn, politicians, dangerous. Nigerians reject them all, says Alkali. And another story there, those involved in double registration won't get PVCs, INEC declares. I believe we have touched on a majority of the stories here on the Sunday Tribune, except the Buhari may visit Kano. Despite
which I was also touched.
Right.
If you permit, I would just say again that as against Steve's theorem about orchestration, that there's no orchestration, the anger in the land is not orchestrated. You see, you don't say because you want to catch a rat, then you set the house on fire. So because you want to prevent a vote buying, you inaugurate a crisis in the land which may become unmanageable.
Vote buying and illicit stockpiling of cash.
That this thing can be done. That's the intention. This thing can be done seamlessly.
Yes.
And that's why I say that there is nothing sacrosanct about 31 days.
CBN says it will do it seamlessly.
And let me also remind you that the cashless policy did not start with this recent CBN. It's been on in this country for long, So there is no basis for punishing people. Policy implementation should not be a punishment on the people.
Agree.
And there can be no justification for it.
Unfortunately, we have to go. Thank you, Mr. Akomola.
Thank you very
much.
We'll see you next week.
Brilliant and engaging.
I loved it.
And thank you for being provocative.
Engaging and redesigned.
And thank you for being provocative too.
All right.
All right.